Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Beach Boys album ranking video. It's been a while, about 2 weeks, sorry for the wait. Just haven't been into it for a little bit, and I was working, and I was kind of just doing other things, but I'm back finally. I'm going to try to keep the upload schedule more constant now, but, last time, we checked on the Beach Boys. It was number 25 out of 30, self-titled from 1985, and I had a lot of things to say about them. That was probably my longest review, I think, one of my longest reviews. And, I said in the last video, I said, you know, that was the last album where you really saw the low point of the Beach Boys, you know, the lowest. While it was a good album, I think, you know, there's still definitely qualities of that album that put it in the lower tier of their discography. But I think this review is the first one where we'll see exponential growth just get better and better. And while I still think this is, you know, at the higher tier of the lower tier, you know, this is the highest of their low tier. I still don't think it's in that good, the classic Beach Boys discography moment yet, the classic part of the Beach Boys discography. I think this is the best of their lesser acclaimed material. And without any further ado, because I don't want this review to be 29 minutes and 50 seconds, number 24 out of 30 from 1976, released July 5th, 1976, we have 15 Big Ones. So, this is an album that has just so much history to it, so much different opinions from different people, what they think of it. Also, sorry for the wind in the background. It's extremely windy outside. I'm in my trailer. The trailer does not insulate the noise very well, so you're gonna have to deal with that. Sorry. So anyway, 15 Big Ones. So, just to give a little backstory, so from 1967, after Smile collapsed, all the way to 1973 with Holland, the Beach Boys were on a creative streak of being amazing. You know, all of those albums, from Smiley Smile, Wild Honey, Friends, 2020, Sunflower, Surf's Up, Carl and the Passions, Holland, so many albums there. All those albums are fucking great, and we'll get to those much, much later. But, you know, they were on a artistic path of expression, and, you know, things were looking good. They came out with Holland, you know, it wasn't their highest charting album in a while, obviously. You know, they weren't really charting that well, they didn't have big singles, but critically, they were doing great. You know, critics were like, wow, the Beach Boys are creative. You know, people were starting to pick up on them, you know, while a lot of the general public still looked at them as that corny oldies band. You know, a lot of, you know, college radios and, you know, more underground things at the time were picking them up, like, wow, their new shit is great, like, why aren't people talking about this? And, you know, they're kind of like an underground cult following. And, anyway, it was going great. Holland was released, and in 1974, it kind of all came crashing down with the release of the compilation album Endless Summer. And for those who don't know, record labels, mainly Capitol for that one, but, you know, they had a lot of greatest hits compilations, and Capitol put that one out in 1974. I think it was Capitol, correct me if I'm wrong, but they put that one out in 1974. Mike was like, alright, call it Endless Summer, don't call it Beach Boys Greatest Hits Volume 15, call it Endless Summer, because that sounds cool. They did. Great track listing, great artwork. It went to number 1 in the country, the number 1 album in the country, the greatest hits compilation. And that, everybody was like, where the fuck did that come from? And it actually became the second of their 2 number 1 albums, the first being Concert in 64, and then Endless Summer in 74, 10 years apart. And it was just a completely unexpected smash hit, and it just blew them up again, you know. They were already playing big crowds at that point. You know, they had Blondie and Ricky in the band. They left, you know, before that album, and then obviously before this one. But it really just catapulted them back into success, and they started playing huge crowds, you know, 50, 60,000 people every night. And people were like, holy shit, the Beach Boys are back. And with that came a want for new material, because, you know, as I said, this album came out in 76, Holland came out in 73. It had been 3 years. And, you know, 3 years may seem like a normal time period for albums today, but you gotta understand, from 1962 to 1973, 11 years, the Beach Boys released at least 1 album every year, which is fucking nuts. Some years they had 3 or 4 albums, which is, you know, unparalleled in the history of music. You know, besides for like King Gizzard and Buckethead and Frank Zappa, you know, those more eclectic artists. For a major rock band to be releasing that many albums is nuts. And I'm pretty sure Holland was like their 19th album or something, so they were deep into their career. So anyway, Endless Summer hits number 1, the band blows up, And Brian at that point, he had been off and on with the band for a while, and I think it was at the point where fans were like, wait, the reason the Beach Boys were so great in the first place was because of all the great music that Brian Wilson wrote. So there's a whole campaign that was, the Brian's Back campaign. Mike wrote a song about it. It's pretty good. You can check it out. It's not on any album, but it's a good song. Anyway, Brian is brought back into the band, live and in the studio as the producer. So he became their leader again after really not being that for 10 years, basically. And this is the first album since Pet Sounds that is credited to Brian Wilson as the producer. Every album in between Pet Sounds and this is the Beach Boys producing, just as the band. And to me, this one is a very, very, very mixed piece of work. Half of it is a Brian Wilson solo album that is on the same vein as Love You. Not as good, but the same style. And then half is just an oldies cover. You can hear it in the background. Brian singing. And so, this album comes out, and it charted well. It went to number 8, which was their highest charting new album since Summer Days, Summer Nights. It charted better than Pet Sounds, which is crazy. But, the album artwork's very interesting. It's the Olympic style, because I'm pretty sure the Olympic Games were that year. I don't know where they were. But Dean Corns from Jen and Dean designed this album cover. He did Love You as well, and I think MIU. He worked with him a lot. And this was the first time where we see the classic Beach Boys logo. Well, what is known as the classic Beach Boys logo, the kind of 50s neon light sign. The album titles in that way too. And then the guys look so cool. I mean, okay, Mike looks like a mouse. Carl's kind of just like, what's up? Brian looks happy as fuck. Dennis looks epic. And then Al's keeping it so clean he doesn't even have to look at the camera. The back cover, a lot of words, all the text, all the the info about the songs. And then I like it's a gatefold. The inner gatefold reminds me a lot of Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones. All these black and white images. Very cool, really. The wind's kicking up again. Sorry about that. But no, I think a lot of people hate this album cover design. They think it looks cheesy and corny and bad, but I kind of like it. It stands out. It looks nice to the eye. We get this logo, and this is the logo that's best associated with the band. So I think only good came from it. So anyway, just to get in the songs, because again, I don't want to waste time. Starts off with a cover of Chuck Berry's 50s classic, Rock and Roll Music. And this one is fucking interesting. So this was released as a single, I think it's 75. And it went to number 5 on the charts, which is their highest charting single since, like, Good Vibrations? Was it actually? It might have been. I can't really think of any other singles that come to mind that charted that high, but number 5 was great for them at the time in 75, 76. Number 5 for a new Beach Boys single. Yes, it was a cover, but it was super high for them. And while the original is great, the Beatles cover is great. This one is interesting. So musically and production-wise, it's fucking awesome. The synths, the farting synths, that's what I like to think of it as. It just rocks. The energy's there. Mike's lead is so fucking nasally, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way. Most people know the song. If you don't know this version, I recommend you listen to it and just hear what I'm talking about, because he sings it well, and it fits with the energy, but just the tone of his voice is just very cheesy. And one of my complaints with this album, why it's not higher up in their discography, is that there's kind of too many Mike vocals on here, and his vocals on this album aren't my favorite. They're very nasally. And anyway, I think it's a great opener, just musically, and it's a classic song, so I think it does work as an opener. But just my main complaint is just his vocal delivery. So I just recommend you check that one out. Just see what you think about it, because it's mixed for me. It's not my favorite album opener of theirs. I think the song itself is amazing, but just his vocal. Next, It's Okay. So this was actually the B-side to Rock and Roll Music, second song on the album. Fits. This one went to number 29, I think, number 28 or 29. And this is a fucking great song. I love it. Written by Brian and Mike. Mike has the lead on the verse again, and then Brian, you could hear him prominently in the backing vocals in the chorus. I love this song. I remember when Beach Boys Radio on Sirius XM was still a thing. They would play this one all the time, and it's just such a fun, classic, carefree song. If you've seen Long Promised Road, the documentary, Brian Wilson's documentary, the new one, every time he's stressed out in the car, he asks, can you put on It's Okay from 15 Big Ones? And I can see why. It's just such a just relaxing, carefree song. It's just, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's like, You know, it's not musically not the same as Don't Worry Baby, but just meaning wise, it's, you know, it's all right. Don't worry, be happy. That's another song, but you get what I'm saying. Love that one. I love the production, the synths, or whatever instrument is on the verse that's like the bassy one. I love that. It just sounds really good. I love the production on this album is awesome. You know, Brian was back in and he knew what he was doing. You know, he hadn't been the producer for 10 years, but he still knew what he was doing. So, I think It's Okay is a fantastic song in my opinion. And check it out if you haven't. It's a great, you know, mid-late 70s Beach Boys song that not a lot of people talk about. Next, had Defonia. So, nobody knows this song. It's so short. It's under 2 minutes. But in my opinion, this is one of the best songs the Beach Boys ever made. You know, I was kind of stumbling for words there, but I kind of have to put it bluntly. It's a fucking magical song. Every single Beach Boy has a vocal on this. Maybe I think Carl might. Let me look at the. Yeah, no, they all do. Mike, Al, Carl, Dennis, and Brian all have leads, and you know it starts with Mike being like the had Defonia, and then eventually they all come in there. And for such a short song, you know you wouldn't expect much, but I truly think it is the best song on the album. And dude, just the production and the atmosphere, and the number one reason I love it so much is the fucking outro. Brian Wilson he created the best fade outs and outros in all of music. It's not even close. You know, 95% of Beach Boys songs are fade out outros, and this one is just special. You know, he's like, come on and answer the phone, come on, and it's just like, dude, it's just magic. The chords, and they never resolve. They always go back to the starting note, but they don't resolve like you would expect them to, and it kind of just makes for like this really mysterious ending. And production wise, it fits with the album. The vocals sound great. I really can't think of it right now because, as I've said in previous reviews, it's hard for me to think of every part of the song on the spot and how they sound, but I can say it is a fucking fantastic song and easily my favorite song on the album. It's just a one-of-a-kind thing at the time, just Brian Wilson's mind. I love when Marilyn at the end says, "Hey, Brian." I think that's this song. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this song. Or she says, "Hi." Maybe it's a different song. I don't know. Anyway, a fucking amazing song. I love that one. Let me know what you guys think about that one. Next, Chapel of Love, a cover of something I know is written by Phil Spector and other people. I don't know who originally released it, but classic song, classic 50s song again, or maybe it's early 60s, but I think they did a great job. I love Brian's vocals. He's very raspy. This album, Brian's vocals on this album were fucking trashed. They sound good, but his vocal cords were trashed because of the drugs, the abuse, you know, just smoking, cocaine, and he was really not in a good spot vocally, just in terms of how healthy he wasn't, his vocal cords. But it gives it a classic vibe, honestly. It's really like, it's really interesting because you think of the Beach Boys as this, you know, really clean cut, you know, kids basically, a clean cut group of, you know, young adults looking clean, singing these songs about, you know, innocent California life. But then here you have these guys, all fucking bearded, hairy men in their mid-30s, singing 50s covers. Very fucking interesting. So half the album is covers, half of it is new songs. There's a 1976 interview with Brian where this album had been released and he was talking about it, and he was like, there's, you know, half oldies, half newies. That's what he called the new songs. He called them newies. I just quoted him. That's exactly what he said in the videos. But, you know, Chapel of Love, a classic cover of a classic song. I think it's really good. I can't really say that much more about it, but I think they did a good job. Everyone's in Love with You. This one was written completely by Mike. He sings it, and this one is not one of my favorites, but I can respect it. I really like the just like the vibe of it. You know, the everyone's in love with you. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but I think it flows well. And to add to my complaints, so I did put this ahead of all the other albums I did so far, and a lot of people disagree with that because a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? Beach Boys 85, LA, those are great fucking albums. They don't like this one as much, and I can see where you're coming from, because this one, you know, this one definitely feels like a mixed bag. Working title for it was actually Group Therapy, that Denny suggested. Never came into fruition, but I think it should have been named that, honestly. Holy shit, it's windy as hell. No, but as I said, with like Had Defonia, It's Okay, absolutely magic songs written by Brian, but then you have, Everyone's in Love with You. Just kind of a mid-tier, forgettable song that I think Mike did a good job on it, but it just doesn't really go anywhere for me. Talk to Me, Tallahassee Lassie, these are covers of older songs. I don't know when they came out, but Carl sings them, and they're great. The energy is great. It kind of reminds me of California from California Saga from Holland, but much less ambitious. It's kind of just a fun, throwback thing. But it's really cool. Carl's vocals on Talk to Me are so fucking awesome, and it's just his voice, man. I've said this before, but his voice is so fucking good. I don't know how he does it. So Talk to Me is a good part. Then you get into Tallahassee Lassie, rockin' song. I think they do a great job. I love the drums. And then I'm pretty sure it ends off side one. Maybe there's a... let me look at the record real quick, because sometimes it's hard for me to remember. Yes, okay. So then not yet. We don't end off side one yet. So then we get that same song written by Brian and Mike, and this one is great. You can just hear it in the... Well, it just ended, but it was in the background, and it's kind of... I don't even know how to describe it. It's not a very complex song, but it's just like... It reminds me of Add Some Music to Your Day in a lyrical sense, that it's like, this is how music started, this is how rock came. They added the vocals, it was chants at first, but then they added all this other stuff, and it's that same song, and it's like, I don't know. I love it. I think it's really good. I love Brian's vocals. I love the harmonies. Really just a great song. Can't really say too much more about it, because it really just is, Brian in 1976 just writing from his mind, and he only got better. Well, until 77, that's when he started falling apart. But when he came back to be the leader of the band, he started this album kind of was like his testing ground, and then with Love You, he just exploded. And then Adult Child, he just according to the band and the record label, he went too damn far. But this is where he started to make his comeback, and I think that same song is a really fucking great effort. And then you could hear it in the background, sang by Al, written by Brian, TM song. This one's funny. It's really short. It starts with like an intro, like a talking intro. Reminds me kind of like our favorite recording sessions for All Summer Long, or like bowl sessions with the Big Daddy from Today, or Cassius Love versus Sonny Wilson from Shutdown. But it starts with that little talking intro, really funny. Mike's talking and whatever, and then it gets into it. Al sings it, and it's nothing deep, but it's just saying, Transcendental meditation is a good thing. You should do it. It made my life better. And, because they were all doing it at the time. Maharishi in the late 60s showed them it. Mike still does it to this day, but I think Al, Brian, and Mike were all into it at this point. So, it's a cool song. Nothing deep, but it's a cool song. Side 2 opens up with the song you can hear in the background. Palisades Park. I'm pretty sure this one was Freddie Cannon. It's probably completely wrong, but I know this is a cover of an old classic song, and I think it's a great cover. Now, I do think the original is better. The original is faster. It has the, that circus energy, and the circus theme is better in the original, and this one doesn't retain that same theme as well. But the production of this one is just really nice. I fucking love Carl's voice. I think I saw an interview somewhere or something, where Brian was singing it, and he wanted Carl to sing it, and he did a really good job. So yeah, I think great cover. I like that one a lot. I like the lyrics. They didn't write it, but just the original lyrics are good. Next, Susie Cincinnati. So this one's interesting. So Al wrote this one back in like '69 for Sunflower, which at the time was called Add Some Music. And Feel Flows just came out, and basically they had so many songs. They had enough songs for like 3 or 4 albums, and probably 2/3 of them were not put on anything. We had Sunflower and Surf's Up, and then there was like a bunch of other songs that weren't released until now. But anyway, Susie Cincinnati was one of those, and for whatever reason, they decided, let's just put it on this album. And Dennis hated this song, which is really weird. He said it was a shitty song, but I like it, dude. I think it's a great song. I think Al did a good job. The drums are great. They're nice and natural sounding, because it was around that, late 60s, early 70s. And I love Al's vocals, and it's just a great live song. I think there's when they videos and recordings of them playing this live during that time, it's just an energetic, fun song. And with this album, the reason it's not lower, but also the reason it's not higher, is because half of it is really solid fun, nothing wrong with it, and half of it is just like just covers that don't really go that far. But at the same time, you have Brian Wilson working from his mind. And then that was Al, so that wasn't Brian, but it was still a fun, great song. Next, A Casual Look, another cover. This one is good. Mike's vocal again is nasally, but I think they do a good job. I can't really say much more about that one. If you guys have more to say about that song and why you like it, then leave that in the comments. Again, when I'm deep in these reviews, I can't really think about it on the spot, but A Casual Look, it's catchy. I'll give, this album is so fucking catchy, and I think a big reason it's above the other 6, Summer in Paradise, Still Cruising, Keeping the Summer Alive, MIU, LA, Self-Titled. I think the reason this one's above all of those is because it's just a catchy, fucking fun album of the core Beach Boys. Like, it's catchy and fun, and that embodies a lot of what people like the Beach Boys for. Blueberry Hill, Fats Domino song, a cover. Mike sings this one again. This one though, I think Mike does a great fucking job. There's saxophone on this one, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there is sax. Hal Blaine plays drums on it. I didn't know that. But anyway, Blueberry Hill. I think they did a great song, or a great job on that song. Not as good as the original, again, because the originals are classics. But I think they did a great fucking song. The production is great. It's big. It's kind of like Wall of Sound. It's kind of like this album's production reminds me of like a little bit of Wall of Sound combined with like the synth of Love You. So it's a very mixed kind of production. It's really cool. So great song. Next, we get a song that dates back to 1963, Back Home. So Brian wrote this in 63, 62 or 63, I don't remember where. And I think it was planned to be on Surfer Girl or something, but for whatever reason, it was never released. There's demos of it where he sings it in his, early 20s voice. And it's really sweet. It's very innocent and like kind of charming. But here we get Brian, singing a song he wrote 15 years prior or 13 years prior. And dude, fucking love this song. Probably my second favorite on the album. First or second, honestly. I don't know. Had Defonia's magic, but this one's really fun. And I think it's never officially came out in the 60s, but it's already kind of a Brian Wilson classic. And just the lyrics and it's just going back home to Ohio. Or I make this way this summer to Ohio. And like the ending part where he's saying that's what I do, when he's just belting, man. He just I can't fucking talk today. He does such a great job on this song, and it's all Brian. He wrote it, he sang it. It's an old song, and just listen to it. It's just energetic. It's just Brian Wilson and his mind, speaking his mind at this time. Next, It Is Still the Night, a classic cover again. Most of the songs on this album are covers, as you can tell. Sung by Dennis. And god fucking damn, oh my god, I love this song. Dennis's voice, it's so gruff because, like Brian's, Dennis's voice was fucked up, but even worse than Brian. So it's very, very rough, but it's so emotional. And I think this one, or no, that's the next song, but this one is just great and emotional, and Denny just does an amazing job on the vocals. So, I think it's a really great one to check out. The production is great. And then we end off the album with Just Once in My Life, another song written by Phil Spector. And, okay, even though this is not an original song by them, they did it so much justice, and it sounds so fucking good. I can't say I've heard the original of that song, but, just Carl does, yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Carl has, like, the main lead, and then during the chorus, Brian sings it. And his voice is so rough and raspy, and he's basically just screaming for his life, but it sounds so real and like so emotional and just brutally honest. And that is something I'll give to this album. It's not the greatest thing in the world, it's not a deep body of work. Even Brian mentioned it's a very lightweight album of lightweight songs, but it's a brutally honest album of just a band having fun. They had success off of this greatest hits album that went to #1. The record label Warner Brothers was like, damn, these guys can actually sell, we'll make something commercial. And they did. It's not the deepest thing. Nothing on here besides probably It's Okay, Defonia, and Back Home is like top tier, but does it really need to be when that album's just so catchy, so fun, so memorable? For a while, this was the Beach Boys album that I was the least familiar with. I've listened to it a bunch now, but for a while, I just listened to this one, I just never got it, but I think the point is you don't. It's not really an album that you have to think deeply about. It's not like a Love You or an Adult Child or a Friends where you're like you're gonna spend hours listening to it and being like examining every part and being like, wow, that's weird, that's interesting. No, this album I kind of just take at face value. It's a fun album of new fun rock songs and old covers that they did in their new revamped style, and I think it really works. And I think the Beach Boys charm, you know, while some of the other albums that I put below this one are more creative and a new music sense, those are more complete bodies of work, and this one's definitely more of a mixed bag. This one just bleeds Beach Boys. Everything about this one is just authentic. Brian Wilson, the man, was the brain behind this one. He made the decisions. All the other guys are in it. They all do a great job. The production is great. It's a precursor to what Love You sounded like. My highlights on this album, It's Okay, Had Defonia, the medley's cool with Talk to Me, and then Tallahassee Lassie, that same song, Susie Cincinnati, Blueberry Hill, Back Home, Just Once in My Life, and Still the Night. So, sometimes I think that, wow, sometimes I think, is this album really that good? But then I just think of all these great songs that I love listening to. They're always on my, they're on my Beach Boys playlist when I'm like driving in my car. They always come up and I always enjoy them. And this album to me is just really like this album kind of is just like an album to get yourself away from the stresses of life. It's not deep. It's not musically advanced. It's just a new Beach Boys album. And, I don't know if you can see it, but it's okay. I can't find it on the track listing because the text is so small. But this album is really just Brian Wilson having fun in the studio again for the first time in 8 years. Well, since Friends, really. That was the last album where he was the mastermind, and then this is his album as well, really. So, my pros, it feels like the Beach Boys. All the boys get vocal representation. It's fun, it's catchy, it's charming. I love the production. And it really is kind of like a middle point. I think all the albums before this were fucking amazing, and then Love You was amazing. So yes, this one's a lot lower, and I think it kind of did break up the streak of this album did break up the streak of amazing albums they had, because I would really give this one like a 7.5 out of 10. But that being said, that still places it at the top end of C tier. So this is the last average album they really made. I still think it's a good record, but in the eyes of a critic, this would be an average album. And in terms of average albums that they made, this was the highest of those and the last, and everything from here will just go up, and we'll start seeing more classic albums and more different things. So, again, I haven't made a review in 2 weeks, so I was a little sloppy on this one, but let me know what you guys think about this one. I think, 7.5 out of 10, it's a solid record. Brian's back in the helm of the band. It's fun, it's catchy, and while it doesn't compare to their greater works, it's not trying to. It's just trying to be itself. It's trying to be fun. And, while some of the songs on, LA, MIU, Keeping the Summer Alive, were more artistically expressive, I think, this one just feels like the Beach Boys. Those feel like a band that's lost and doesn't know what they're doing. But this one feels like the Beach Boys making a new album and they're having fun with it. And that's really all I have to say. It's not a deep album. It's not something that you'll sit down and cry yourself to sleep to at night. It's just something you put on in the background when you're driving in the car, or you're just doing homework, or you're just sad. This album will lift your spirits. It's nostalgic with all the covers. It's fun. The vocals are great. Brian and Dennis's raspy vocals, Carl's great vocals, Al's, Mike. Okay, Mike's a little nasally, again with rock and roll music. That one's, I love the song, but Mike's vocals kind of, I don't really know. So anyway, almost 30 minutes. I take way too fucking long with these reviews. I'm sorry. We're gonna start looking at some shorter albums, coming soon. So hopefully those are a little shorter. But yeah, July 5th, 1976, 15 big ones. 7.5 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next album review video. Peace.